Don't miss Clownfish Studios' latest crowdfunder, Crimson Wren Volume 1 on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Thaddeus Wendell's greatest treasure is out there, and it's up to young mage Crimson Wren and the crew of a rundown airship called the True North to find it. But will they find it in time? Crimson Wren of the True North is a race against the clock filled with action, adventure, comedy, and heart. This is a brand new manga-style graphic novel from Clownfish Studios. Go to crimsonwren.com or check it out on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. It ends on November 18th. That's November 18th. And now on with the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. We're going to do a couple of updates on Twitter this morning because apparently those are the videos people want to watch. Like, it's so weird. Like, nobody really cared about Twitter until Elon Musk bought it. And a lot of people wondering what the future of Twitter looks like. So it's interesting. There's been a lot of discussion about free speech on Twitter and how free you'll be allowed to be on Twitter with Elon Musk. And he has assured people it was not going to be a free-for-all hellscape. In fact, we had a lot of progressives freaking out that, oh my God, the alt-right Yahtzees are going to take over. And he's trying to assure people that is not going to be the case. This is not going to make some people happy, for sure, especially if you're a free speech absolutist. But we're talking about a guy who wants Twitter to be profitable and who also has advertisers to please. And he's basically saying that he's going to have a committee put together, people from different viewpoints to come up with guidelines as to what constitutes being banned from Twitter or unbanned from Twitter before he makes any big moves. I know there are some people out there that would like the orange one to return, and it sounds like there are going to be a lot of hoops to jump through before that happens. And of course, advertisers threatening to pull if that happens. So we're going to talk about this. Anyway, before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 280,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. We've been talking a lot about Twitter because Twitter has had an inordinate amount of influence on pop culture over the last 5 or 6 years. Mostly because pop culture journos, I think, have parked it on this platform. They write articles about their own tweets, They cancel people with tweets, or they cancel people for tweeting. It's become quite the circle pleasuring experience, right, over there. And they're completely freaking out. Elon Musk, of course, who was once a Democrat, is now, I guess, a Republican. I don't know. But he does like free speech more than most of Twitter likes free speech these days. And it sounds to me like he just wants to roll the platform back to what it was around 2010, 2012, which was always my expectation. And I'm okay with that, personally. I'm fine with that. A lot of people aren't going to be fine with it, though I don't think, because there might have been some unrealistic expectations of what Space Daddy Elon Musk was going to do. He doesn't want to turn it into Gab, basically, or Parler. He's like, this is going to be a service for everybody. We're going to do some video. We're going to have paid tiers. Anyway, let's talk about, oh my God, it's trending, the $8. The $8 is trending. So before we talk about who's getting involved in deciding what Twitter's actual, what actually constitutes hate speech on Twitter, we got to talk about advertising, right? We have to talk about the advertising because Twitter has to turn a profit. He paid $44 billion for it. And we're going to talk about some executives leaving Twitter and employees and all that jazz in another video. But advertisers are threatening to pull out. And, you got to make money. So Elon Musk, I think, to appease them, is like, no, we're going to make sure that we are kind of logical in how we approach bans and that sort of thing. So this is what he said. And this actually pissed a lot of people off. Talked to civil society leaders yesterday from the ADL, the NAACP, et cetera, about how Twitter will continue to combat hate and harassment and enforce its election integrity policies. He said, Twitter will not allow anyone who was deplatformed for violating Twitter rules back on the platform until we have a clear process for doing so, which will take at least a few more weeks. So if you're holding out hope for the orange one to suddenly appear before the midterm elections, that's not going to happen. Twitter's Content Moderation Council will include representatives with widely divergent views, which will certainly include civil rights community leaders and groups who face hate-fueled violence. Yeah, so people saying they're all woke, you know that, right? I think that he's going to include different voices. Look, my personal opinion on what I think is going to happen is he's going to have people have a say in what is, or at least give an opinion on what they believe is hate speech or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to listen to that or that Twitter is going to adopt their guidelines for that. But I think he's trying to give people a voice and at least, give the appearance of being fair. I don't know. Is that a fair thing to say? To look like they're actually listening. I think it's basically going to be, for most people that think it's going to be this huge difference on Twitter. And we're gonna talk about this too, because a lot of people saying they're going to leave. They're going to leave because it's going to become an alt-right cesspool or some shit like that. I think it's basically going to be the same thing, except it's going to be a little more fair, and it's going to cost money to weed out the bots and the spam accounts. I think if they can get rid of the trolls, the spam accounts, the bots, right? And if they have to charge $8 a month to do that, and they have clear, I want to emphasize this, clear terms of service, clear lines and boundaries. If you cross this line, this is where the line in the sand is. If you want to use our platform and you cross this line, you're not going to be allowed to use our platform anymore. Sensible rules. I think as long as they have that in place, they're fine. Now, if he starts to panic and is like, yeah, let's just let one side of the aisle dictate everything because I got to keep advertisers happy, then we're right back to square one, right? Just except now we're paying for it. We're basically getting the exact same Twitter, except you're paying for it. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't think that's going to happen. Again, my expectation, personally, because believe it or not, I'm not a conservative. People think I am. I'm not. But my expectation was let's roll this shit back to 2010, 2012, when Twitter was a little more sane. We didn't have all these, rando sock puppet accounts and all these people coming in from Tumblr and, all that. And I want to talk about this because it's interesting. The Atlantic did an article talking about how everybody says that they're going to leave Twitter, but they're not actually going to leave Twitter. And I was reading through it. We'll go through some of this here. But they actually said what we've been saying for a while. They said that they're talking about fandom and how it migrated from LiveJournal to Tumblr to Twitter. And we have said this multiple times. We've watched it happen in real time. If you look at the comic book industry and you look at people working in comics or around comics or trying to get into comics, reporting on comics, whatever, a lot of them started online. Well, first on message boards, right? And then they moved from the message boards to LiveJournal. Everybody had their own LiveJournal. And then LiveJournal, everybody migrated to Tumblr. And then from Tumblr to Twitter. Same group of people, same mindset. A lot of them very activist-minded, And they actually said it right here in the Atlantic. They said that they're talking about fandom. They said there was a study published looking at why fandom communities migrated from platforms such as LiveJournal and fanfiction.net to Tumblr in the early 2010s. They highlighted that as with real-world migration, there are both push and pull factors at play when people decide to leap from one platform to another. In the case of LiveJournal and Tumblr, LiveJournal implemented policy changes that were hostile to fan fiction and was then acquired by a Russian company that banned various political topics. People were pushed to leave and pulled to a place more suited to their needs, which was Tumblr. Tumblr was a blank slate, lacking the prohibitions and offering useful features such as customization and better social tools. Tumblr has also been crucial to fandom because it allows users to remain anonymous, make multimedia posts, and archive material with meticulous tagging. So yeah, they're basically like they migrated because the platform no longer suited them. When there were rules in place that no longer suited fandom, they moved to Tumblr. And then when Tumblr basically got rid of the porn, which I don't think they're mentioning that in here, but Tumblr got rid of the porn, then they all moved to Twitter. And now that Twitter is owned by Elon Musk, a lot of these people probably will go someplace else, especially since we have a barrier to entry, which is going to be pay to play if you want your blue check, your verification. I don't know where they're going to go exactly. They basically find, this particular group tends to find a blank slate. My bet is on something like Pillow Fort. They're already kind of, filtering into Instagram and, but they bring a lot of this cancel culture bullshit with them and outrage and art fixing and all this other crap. They're talking about where they're going to go, where are these poor stands going to go? They said there has to be a compelling reason to leave a platform and a viable alternative option, an immediate viable alternative option. People are impatient. See, we said this before. We said this in a previous video. All these people threatening to leave, they're not going to leave because there is no immediate viable alternative option right now. You've got, Tribal Social, which nobody's using because a lot of these people, they like the platform, they like the megaphone. You've got Pillow Fort, which is a safe space that nobody goes to. You could go back to Tumblr, but Tumblr is pretty much worthless at this point. I mean, WordPress bought it for $3 million. Like an individual could cut a check and buy it. They could have bought it. So they're going to stay on Twitter. They're absolutely going to stay on Twitter. And a lot of them, they're going to bitch and moan, but they're going to pay for it. They're absolutely going to pay, and they're going to pay to keep their blue check. This is just a lot of grousing because they are terrified that their quote unquote safe space they've created over Twitter for themselves, not for other people, right? Other people, they all need to be attacked and driven off. But the safe space they've created for themselves, they're afraid it's going to be compromised right now. And I personally think it's going to be more sensible and a rollback to 2010, 2012, which is going to be too much for some people. They're going to be like, oh my God, it's the alt-right's taking over, even though they've got, people in from different organizations, apparently. Let's see what's being said here. People are saying they're rapidly losing faith, bad development, ignore the advice of all those people, especially the terrible and pro-censorship ADL. The ADL, wasn't it the ADL that went after PewDiePie? Or something? He gave a bunch of money to them and they found out. Yeah, and then he rescinded his offer. Elon has beer muscles. He gets a little heat and he quickly deletes tweets. And he runs back to kissing the feet of those who made Twitter an anti-free speech platform in the first place. Here we have Cat Turd. Everybody loves Cat Turd, right? LOL. Every one of these groups not only aren't targeted by Twitter, but are given special treatment. Conservatives are the only group targeted by Twitter, and they still have zero representation. The Elon Musk Twitter Content Moderation Board is another scam. Elon, these are not civil society leaders by a long shot. These are self-appointed cultural and linguistic enforcers. $44 billion to do the exact same stuff. A huge amount of hate and harassment comes from the left, and especially from activists who are by far the worst offenders. Yeah, so people are not happy. If Twitter is going to prevent manipulations of conversations, you'll have to establish the truth of ongoing debates. Good luck with that. I look forward to seeing how this plays out when policies are being discussed. Not a single conservative in the entire bunch. Your job is not to combat hate, says Kurt Schlichter. Man, we got Tim Pool turning on him. Looks like Elon ran into the wall. If he doesn't take a sledgehammer now, there's no way he will in a few weeks. Over time, he will erode and eventually concede to the hate mob he's already trying to appease. Yeah, conservatives not happy about this, obviously. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be honest. Again, I would be... I would be happy if we could roll it back to 2010, 2012. You got to realize any platform you use, there are going to be terms of service, right? It's not going to be a free-for-all, especially with advertisers. But, you know, he's a businessman. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But that is kind of the latest on where Elon is in regards to, you know, making sure that Twitter does not become a free-for-all hellscape. He's getting a lot of pushback. Going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.